It's a shame when you have a country like America that leads the world in drug overdose deaths. Things are bad. But America has not really gone through too many decades without drugs. And it is very plain for everybody to see that there are some serious issues going on in America. So let's get into this article that came out in the Smithsonian. The US has the highest overdose death rate of any wealthy nation. That's bad. A new study has found that there are an average 3.5 times more drug related deaths in the United States than in 17 other wealthy countries. And we know when they say wealthy countries, they mean the European nations. So America leads the world in drug overdose deaths. The United States have been gripped by a dire drug crisis. In 2017 alone, drug overdoses caused the death of some 70,000 people. They're downplaying the numbers, y'all, with opioids being the main driver of this tragic statistic. So grave is the crisis that Americans are now likely to die from accidental opioid overdose than from a car crash. And that's true. According to the National Safety Council, the situation is unprecedented, not only in the context of United States history, but also in relations to other countries. As Ed Cara reports for Gizmodo, a new study has found that America experiences more drug related deaths than any other wealthy nation. That is a damn shame. That means your, your biggest junkies on earth are here in America. Published in the journal Population and Development Review, the study was carried out by Jessica Ho, an assistant professor of gerontology at the University of Southern California. Ho used data from the Human Mortality Database and the World Health Organization Mortality Database to analyze rates of drug overdose deaths in 18 countries between 2003 and 2013. She found that overdose death rates in the US are 3.5 times higher on average than those in other 17 countries. The rates are nearly 2 times higher than in countries with the highest number of drug overdose deaths, specifically Anglophone countries like Canada, the UK, Australia, Nordic countries like Sweden, Finland, Norway, and Denmark. Drug overdose mortality in America is an alarming 27 times higher than in Italy and Japan, which have the lowest rates of the countries analyzed. While the United States is not alone in experiencing increases in drug overdose mortality, the magnitude of the differences in the level of drug overdose mortality is staggering, Ho says. Yeah, I know, I do these stories, but I know already on hand that even the stories that I do, this drug plague is far worse than you can ever imagine. These stories are only scratching the surface, y'all. It is far worse. That's why these folks are acting out as crazy as they are. It's bad. It's so bad. I read an article about 2 years ago that said the average white Man and woman know someone either in their family, directly or indirectly, that have died of opioids. That's how big it is. The unmatched number of drug overdose deaths in the United States is impacting the country's life expectancy, which has been steadily dropping due to the opioid plague. By 2013, drug overdoses contributed to 12% of the male life expectancy gap between the United States and other wealthy countries, and 8% of the life expectancy gap among women. In the absence of overdose deaths, the gap that widened between 2003 and 2013 would have been one-fifth smaller for men and one-third smaller for women, according to the study. On average, Americans are living 2.6 fewer years than people in other high-income countries, Ho explains. This puts the United States more than a decade behind the life expectancy levels achieved by other high income countries. America drug overdose deaths are widening this already significant gap and causing us to fall even further behind our peer countries. This wasn't always the case. During the 1990s and early 2000s, the United States was not the outlier. In terms of drug overdose deaths, the Nordic countries were experiencing the highest rates among wealthy nations, but a number of factors, including false reassurances by pharmaceutical companies that opioids were not addictive, which in turn led to the overprescription as drug killers, has driven the current epidemic. Yes, it has. But you know what? I read an article less than a week ago that said they're still prescribing too many opioids in this country. So it's still happening. Yeah, you may have cut down on it, but it's still too much. As efforts to decrease opioid prescriptions have taken hold, addicted patients have turned to heroin and more recently fentanyl, a synthetic drug, even more deadly than prescription pills and heroin. In other countries, by contrast, opioid prescriptions have been tightly controlled. In Japan, for instance, doctors are required to undergo intensive training before they can prescribe opioids for non cancer related pain. In France, Italy, and Portugal, patients have to be registered before they can receive opioid medication. But Ho notes in her study that significant increases in opioid related deaths have been documented in Australia and Canada, where opioid consumption has also increased. While not as dramatic as the situation in the United States, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Sweden, and the United Kingdom have also seen higher rates of opioid prescribing in recent years. The use of prescription opioids and synthetic drugs like fentanyl are becoming increasingly common in many high income countries, Ho says, and constitute a common challenge to be confronted by these countries. Very true. You know, China said they're not going to do anything to stop all the fentanyl coming in. They got their people to worry about. So they're not worried about anybody dying over in the United States. They already made that very clear. So the fentanyl will continue to pour into the US with no assistance from China. And I'm not surprised that America leads the world in drug overdose deaths. America leads the world in so many negative things, it's not even funny. But this is just one more thing to add to the pile. You know, it's pretty bad to be leaders in negative things. You know, they give the world exactly what they don't need. overdose deaths, drug addiction, and high IQs. We don't need no more high IQs in the world either. We have, look at the condition of the world. This world is in terrible shape, all led by high IQ people. Need I say more? So no wonder why this thing has spiraled out of control. You got high IQ people in charge. So as long as high IQ people are running it, you can best believe America is in a nosedive. Please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.